Good evening, everyone. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me. We've got a fantastic turnout tonight, so thanks to everyone for giving up your time to come out and listen to the presentation. My name is John McPherson. I'm the chairman of the SafeParks initiative, and previously the ParkSec proactive security. So the idea of tonight is basically...
There seem to be about 25 people talking to each other. They all stand up and keep quiet, so those who want to hear.
Thank you. Right, we've got plenty of time to get excited later, but if we can have a bit of time, that'll be fantastic. Okay, so essentially what we're looking at is reclaiming our public spaces, and the idea of tonight is to give you feedback and information in terms of the process we've gone through. I was chatting to someone very experienced in sort of community politics today, and she said, people aren't fighting, that's when you need to be worried because they don't care. So it is a motive. There are a lot of different interest groups, there are a lot of different views in terms of approaches, but hopefully you'll see from our presentation that we've embarked on a regular process and come up with what we believe to be the right answer. So, I mean, essentially, we believe that residents should be able to walk alone in the streets, enjoy the public spaces, and be safe in their homes. So we need to expand our security bubble. You know, we start off in our houses with electric fences and beams and alarm systems and high walls, and that only protects our our private property. And we need to push that out. So we've had road teams, guard teams. People say, well, our road's okay. We've got cameras, we've got guards. But we don't destroy crime. We basically displace it. And we need to push it out from our suburb completely. Well, as far as possible. We're going to do a complete move. So looking at what the SafeParks initiative is, we thought we wanted to take, we believe it was time to take the existing approach to a new level. There are increasing challenges in the public security area. We want to disrupt crime before it happens and prevent criminals from getting to their target. Oh, sorry. Engaging with the audience here too much rather than the one at home. Yeah, can you flip the slide? Should we get someone else to flip the slide? Or you good? I'm good. Okay. Okay, so prevent criminals to getting to their target, which is either your home or your driveway, and carefully balance the costs and benefits. And it very much, I mean, ultimately that's where we come down to in terms of garnering support for our initiative. It has to be cost effective. And that's a challenge for a lot of people. I mean, we're in tough economic times. So ultimately we're looking to make our suburbs an unattractive place for criminals to be. A lot of people say, why are we paying extra? We pay our taxes. What are the SAPs doing? What are, you know, we've got armed response companies like ADT, Cortec, NYPD. Why aren't they doing something about it? Well, I mean, obviously SAPs is under huge pressure in terms of budget and resources, manpower. And when you look at your armed response companies, they're called armed response because they are contracted to look after your home. It relates to home security. They sign a contract with you that when your alarm goes off, hopefully they will come and see what's going on. So they have no contractual obligation to disrupt crime in the public space. It's private home security. It has nothing to do with the streets and parks and business areas and restaurants in our community. So the SafeParks initiative only relates to the public space. And this is important because whilst we encourage people to sign up with the the selected service provider for their armed response. We respect the fact that you have the right to choose who you want to look after in your home and who you trust. So we don't prescribe. A lot of people saying, well, who are these monkeys? No one's elected them. You know, now they're telling us what we need to do. No. What we've done is trying to get a community collaborative effort where we all chip in to get people to, or a security provider to patrol our streets. Who you get for your home, that is absolutely 100% your business. In order to ensure the success of the scheme, we do have a stipulation with our service provider that they may not provide home security or alarm monitoring services to anyone who does not contribute to the public space scheme. But that is the only requirement. There's nothing else restricted. Okay, just in terms of background, what is SafeParks? We're a not-for-profit company. Originally it was formed by 3 resident bodies. First of all, the organisation I represent, being ParkSec, and hopefully a lot of you are familiar with the work we've done. We've been responsible for the public space security scheme. Our service provider has been Portac since 2008. It's a voluntary association of residents. We've been accused of being Mossad agents and a marketing front for Portac. I live in 9th and Parktown North. We're just trying to make the streets safe. Then there was Parkhurst Residents and Business Owners Association, PABOA. We've been very active. I'm sure many Parkhurst residents are here tonight. And then we initially were involved with the PNRA. Unfortunately, there was almost a difference in approach, which happened in December. The PNRA elected to withdraw. There were Parktown North residents may have seen some emails flying around last week. Probably not, I think both of us have acknowledged that they were not issued maybe with the greatest forethought. But we have engaged with the PNRA. The essence of this is that everyone is doing what they believe is in the best interests of the suburb and the community. So that is what the PNRA is doing. There is no hidden agenda. That is what we are doing. We have no hidden agenda. We opened the doors. I had a meeting with Leanne this afternoon, and we are very open to working together if it makes sense going forward. They need, for their own due diligence and governance perspective, to go through the process to make sure that they come up with the right solution. We believe we have the right solution. We've been through a rigorous process, and we are moving ahead, but hopefully not in not such a way that future collaboration is not possible. But like you have people, some people say cameras are essential, some people say cameras are useless. Have feet on the ground, have eye in the sky. There are different approaches, and that's where we are currently with the PNRA, but I think we're both respectful of the other. So hopefully we can move both of us together, because we've received a lot of comments saying, oh, what the hell's going on? Surely you people must work together. And I think fundamentally we need to, but we need to get to the end point through our own processes. So I do hold out a lot of hope that we will end up with a common solution. Okay. So the role we have is to appoint a single service provider for the public space. The intention, so the initial contract we had with Portac, the situation we were in was that there were capped schemes getting off the ground that were costing between 12 and 1,500 Rand a month, which just wasn't sustainable for our community. Portac came, they went into a loss-making situation for the first couple of months or years, and so there wasn't a great deal of contractual leverage which we could use to get a highly beneficial situation with them. It was very much hands heavy on the ground, we're all in this together, and Portac were very strong in terms of providing that to us. Going forward, we're looking to have a very formal and stringent SLA in terms of what key performance indicators which we expect the service provider to adhere to. Whilst I've said we do not prescribe to you who you use for your armed response, we will have KPIs, key performance indicators, in that contract related to those of our contributors that have contracted with CSS to provide their armed response. So if you do have issues with your armed response service, we are then able to leverage our contractual power with CSS to ensure contractual compliance. So we will be holding them accountable. The other difference with the current scheme is that the current scheme that Cortac holds the debit orders on our behalf, and they collect all the money. The future model is for SafeParks actually to collect the money so that it has that financial lever over the service provider as well. Yes?
Can I ask you a question, or should we do that in
I'm more comfortable with it, but last week was very good of a bunch part. So if we can save the next piece to the end, that'll be fantastic.
So it allows us to control the purse strings, and as I said, it's a key differentiator between the ParkSec scheme. We are hoping to register as a public benefit organisation, which hopefully will enable subscribers or contributors to get a tax rebate on their contributions. I believe it's 40% rebate on those contributions. Again, we will be at the mercy of SARS, but we are doing our best to try and acquire that tax-exempt status from SARS, and should it happen, there will be a significant benefit for our contributors. Okay, just in terms of who the SafeParks Committee is, and this was the same committee that conducted evaluations of bids in the tender process. I've introduced myself as the chair. I'm a resident of Parktown North and came from ParkSec. We've got James Bowley from Provo, who's our vice chair, Parkhurst resident. Alexander Amrine, I'm not sure if Alexander's here tonight, but he's also ParkSec from Parktown North. Justin Hall's also from Parktown North, and the vice chair of ParkSec, for those of you that have attended our meetings. Marius Homewood from Parkhurst, appointed by Provoa, and Adam Levy, also from Parkhurst and appointed by Provoa. We then have two support staff in terms of Judy Sargent, who's been fantastic in terms of setting up the WhatsApp group and sending out all the Parksec mails and basically attending to the day-to-day inquiries that we do receive. And then another innovation is that we've appointed our own security consultant. Now, this was key in the tender process to give us technical input in terms of the bids that we're receiving. And also going forward, Michael's going to, we've engaged him on a monthly contract to assist us to enforce service levels, etc., and do due diligence and audits of the service provider's performance under the contract, so which we believe is important. Okay, so just in terms of where we are now, as you know, Cortac has been the appointed service provider for the last 6 years. I think, unfortunately, the solution has remained largely the same. Our contributor numbers have changed, but remained largely the same. Initially, when the scheme implemented the scheme, we were having between, say, 8 and 10 incidents per month of contact crime. Certainly in Parktown North, that's gone down to about 1 per month, so 10 to 12 a year. There has been a recent spike in contact crimes. We had a hijacking in 9th Avenue last week, and there was another home invasion this week. Again, the problem is that the criminals also raise their game up, they don't remain static. And also our neighbours have also increased their security and their approaches to security. I think we have relatively low community support. In Parktown North, we have approximately 280 contributors out of a possible 1,000 households. And in Parktown North, Parkhurst, 450 out of a potential 2,000 households. So it works out to sort of 28% and about 22%. When we look at Craig Hall, they're in excess of 63%, and Dunkeld is I think, over 90%. So, yeah, and there might be a number of reasons for that. So based on this, we decided we needed a new approach. We needed to breathe new life into the initiative, and we needed to re-tender for a service provider. We appointed Michael Lever as our security consultant to advise us and to assist us in evaluating the technical proposal.
Sorry, where did we get the information about what Michael has done?
Okay, I'll note your question, if we can just address it at the end. Okay. So in terms of the process followed, we did follow a basic practice tendering process. Can you click the slides? We requested information from RFI was issued in October 2014. Subsequent to that, we issued a request for proposal during November with a closing date of the 5th of December. And part of that process was to actually mandate or require, prescribe a standard solution on which the service providers had to tender, so that we were able to compare apples for apples. It was pointless asking them to come up with their own solution and price it, because that would not necessarily enable us to compare the respective service offerings. Interestingly enough, the standard of proposals did vary greatly, and even though we were relatively prescriptive in terms of the information we required, we did ask that there was a great variance between the proposals. The proposals were evaluated against the criteria stipulated in the RFP, and obviously a key element was pricing and investment, and the apparent willingness to enter into some sort of partnership. Subsequent to that, from the 6 service providers that submitted expressions of interest, in other words, they said they want to submit a proposal, out of the 6 proposals that we received, we whittled this down to 2 preferred service providers, and we went through a best and final offer process, in terms of which we asked them to clarify certain aspects of their proposals that weren't clear, and also to sharpen their pencils in terms of pricing and value add. So the 2 selected were CoreTac and CSS Tactical. And we also conducted a question and answer and presentation session between the evaluation committee and representatives of the 2 service providers. Based on this process, the evaluation committee, not without debate, not without disagreement, but the majority of the evaluation committee selected CSS as the preferred service provider. Now, what we did on Thursday night, and again, we're also just feeling our way with this sort of thing. We didn't announce that on Thursday night and presented both proposals, and I think all that did was create more confusion and uncertainty. So basically, we have gone through an extensive process. We have come up with what we believe is in the best interest of the suburbs and the community. And that is what we are presenting, and we are looking for support for that. So, as I said, people have different views. They might think other service providers are better. They might think that other approaches are better. I can put my hand in my heart and say, I've done this comprehensively and rigorously, and I'm happy with the result. I initially thought that there was no ways that CoreTac was going to be displaced. So through the process, I've come to appreciate that the best solution is to go with the CSS. And again, from my own sleeping at night and the amount of time I spend on this, it would be far easier to go with CoreTac. And people say, why are you giving up CoreTac? They've been fantastic, and we're loyal to them, and we love them, and why are you getting rid of them? And I don't dispute that they are a fantastic service provider. They are great in terms of being soldiers and doing the tactical stuff. But by the same token, so are CSS. And this is not necessarily a war zone. It is a suburb and a community, and we need to package the solution, we need to market the solution, and we need to make sure that not only is it effective, but that it also speaks to the expectations of the community. And for that reason, we have gone with CSS. Rightly or wrongly, that is the decision that we have reached. Okay. So next slide. Okay. So in terms of the base commencement solution, this is the solution that CSS has proposed. They have offered to make substantial investment into the neighborhood. So the base commencement solution, and on the right, we've got what we currently have. Again, this isn't meant to be an indictment or a criticism of Cortac, this is what we had agreed and this is what we had in place. So it's just a bare statement of fact. So in terms of the new proposal, we will have 3 tactical vehicles with 2 officers in the vehicle, and a one 12-hour strike team, which are more highly paid, more highly trained officers that basically focus on key flashpoints or areas of concern in the suburb on an ongoing basis based on intelligence and based on current crime trends. So essentially we're getting 3.5 vehicles. The current solution has 1 vehicle in each suburb, and every now and then Cortac has thrown in additional vehicles, but essentially it's 2 vehicles. What CSS has done is to offer to invest and provide us with 165 cameras, I think on 46 poles around the suburb. Again, this isn't blanket coverage, so streets that want to upgrade and get greater monitoring in their streets, you will be required to raise support in your street and put in additional cameras. But those cameras are focused on key nodes within the 2 suburbs. And that is not being costed into the initial scheme. It's important. I mean, we know CSS is not a charity organization. So it's not as though we've been hoodwinked to think that they're reaching deep into their pockets and how they're a charitable bunch of guys. But they are saying, we are getting you up to speed. And this relates in terms of the pricing to start as well. CSS has come to us and said, again, we've adopted, we required a very transparent pricing model in the proposals. They needed to tell us what their cost was, what their margin was, and what their overhead was. So CSS have come in at a specified disclosed cost per camera pole, per vehicle, and this is for the solution. And they are prepared to launch the scheme if we meet the minimum amount required to cover their costs. As we go above that 375 in terms of contributions, we are going to share 50-50. So in other words, 50 allocated to the scheme, 50 to their margin and overhead. So their overhead, it's 15% and 20%. So 15% overhead and 20% margin gives us the final amount that they will charge us for any asset that we require. So we go 50-50 until we hit the margin and overhead requirement for them, and above that, all excess funds will then accrue to the benefit of getting more security, possibly coming back on the contributions. So 13 license plate recognition cameras, 1 dedicated unit commander, and 6 dedicated marketing persons. Now, someone did say, why are we paying for marketing people? Well, I don't know if we're necessarily paying for them, but CSS have allocated those to the scheme in order to drive up subscriber numbers or get more people to support. In 6 years, we've got up to 25%, 27%, and 22.5%. We have to market the solution. And the upside to me, well, the advantage to me is that CSS's upside and profit will be addressed by their ability to market the solution. I mean, a lot of us on the committee have our own businesses, and we've got day jobs, and it's not that easy to go out and market. I mean, we've had phone-a-thons, we've had days at the Parktown North shopping centre, Parktown Quarter. So we have done stuff, but to sustain them is very difficult. So for the service provider to offer to provide that service is significant. Okay, then the next slide. I mean, there have been questions saying, well, why is Parkhurst and Parktown North, why are they getting into bed together? Parktown North can sort their own things out, and Parkhurst can sort their things out. They're very different communities. Demographic is different. The crime issues are different. And we don't deny them. But they are different, and make no mistake, we're not proposing one solution for both suburbs. we are aware of the fact that there need to be different approaches in the different suburbs. But there is the advantage of getting, you can share a unit commander, there can be overhead costs that is shared, there are economies of scale. If we have our own solution, then each suburb needs cameras facing each other because they are independently monitored. If we one suburb, First Avenue West, we don't need to have cameras on either suburb. Whereas if we do separate solutions, then that will need to be catered for, especially if they're different service providers. So, and again, that's our view. Other people have a different view, and we respect that, but we're not swayed by it. So essentially, also what we've done, people say, but there's so many more subscribers in Parkhurst, or the potential subscriber base in Parkhurst is that much more, and that's right. And what we've done in terms of the scheme is we split the cost, that 375 down the middle, and it's up to Parktown North to carry half of that, and it's up to Parkhurst to carry the other half. Parkhurst have been talking about possibly dog units on the straight, thermal cameras on the straight. That cost will be factored into the portion that Parkhurst needs to bear. So there's no cost subsidization of specific security approaches to the suburbs issues. Parkhurst again is maybe more suited for foot patrols, whatever the case may be, that we can have varied approaches to the two suburbs, but we benefit from being close neighbours. We are very much affected by what happens in Parkhurst with people coming through the Straits and what have you. We have people coming down, waiters and people working in Parkhurst coming through our suburbs. So I think there are common interests, and it does, and it's not on Glen Hazel, Melrose, Birdhaven. There are a number of public space security schemes where suburbs have joined together, where it makes sense to do so. And even on top of that, one of the pluses on CSS's side was that they do Cradle, they do Dunkeld, and they do Greenside. So again, we spoke about that security bubble. We've got one organisation that is managing security in that space. So the chances of pushing it out, we believe, are more likely. Right, the next slide, which in terms of the survey, and those of you that have done the survey, we thank you for that. So what our initial approach was that we have a minimum amount to get to in order to launch the scheme, that 375 number. We took the Parksec subscribers in Parkhurst and Parktown North, and we divvied it up, and we said, right, if we only get proactive contributors, the amount comes out to X. Now that amount in Parktown North is about 40% more than we currently contribute to contact proactive. And in Parkhurst, I think it's about 15–20% more. So we said, well, to counterbalance that, and in order to encourage people to sign up for armed response, we will then discount the armed response, so that if you take both, you will pay the same as you would have paid if you signed up with Cortac for armed response and were a Parksec contributor. So we thought that that was quite a nice incentive. It should be 50–75. It should be 75–25. But we've got pushback on that, and I think the concerns are probably valid. In other words, it's almost forcing people to take CSS armed response, and that's not what we want to do. Obviously, we want support for the solution, but it must be uninfluenced. There's such a word, uninfluenced decision on who you want, and you need to be absolutely happy with who's looking after your home, your family. I chatted again this afternoon. I've chatted with CSS, and we're going to go back to the 50-50 model. So it just means that we need more subscribers potentially more subscribers in order to launch the scheme, but I think it's an important principle. So, I think our letter said that it would be 75–25, but it's going back to 50–50. So it'll be exactly the same. We factored in a 6% increase on Cortax or on Parksec fees. for the new financial year, and so that increased amount will be the amount you pay. If you are only going proactive, then it will be half that amount. So essentially it would be you're in exactly the same position. You're not penalised for sticking with your armed reaction service provider. Okay, next slide. So, okay, yeah, so I basically ran these figures at 5:30, so I haven't changed the slide. See both these slides haven't changed. Ricky, where's Ricky? Have you got that piece of paper? But I mean, it's actually quite simple because it's basically half of that. So it's for armed reaction thinking. Basically, for if you only contribute to public space, it will be around 500 rand, 5, and Parkhurst, it will be half of the 725. So, but all in, you won't be paying more than you were under the current scheme. And as you saw from that previous slide, we are getting substantially more bang for our buck. And that ultimately has informed our decision to go with CSS.
So just talk us through to the public spaces, because how do you make a decision if 20 houses are based around the park? And who's paying and who's deciding if there should be cameras in the park or not?
Okay, I'll answer it at the end. Okay, thank you. Okay, so in terms of the way forward, can you, next slide. There are risks, and as I said, a lot of people said, why are you trying to fix it if it ain't broke? Why are you watching Apple Card, Cortex providing a good service? What are you doing? And I've asked myself that question a number of times. But the point is that whilst what we have is working to a degree, we don't believe it is still as effective as it could be or as it once was. So there is this huge risk of switching service provider. There's the risk of resident apathy, which we've had substantial experience of over the last 6 years. And also antipathy or antagonism to the solution that we're proposing. So, yeah, those are significant risks. In terms of the requirements to go forward, we need a minimum uptake, as I've indicated to you. We're probably going to need in the region of, say, 450 contributors from Parkhurst and around 280 from Parktown North. Those are our current ParkSec numbers. And we're hoping that those contributors are going to follow our recommendation. We know some won't. Hopefully we'll get new contributors. But again, it's what needs to be done. Okay.
If we get the same numbers, we pretty much reach the
Yeah.
need.
If we get the same numbers, we've got more than enough. Okay, so in terms of what you need to do, we'd like you to pledge support. CSS are here tonight. They weren't here the other night, but if you could pledge support and indicate your willingness to support the scheme. Obviously, there's a sales process that will be gone through, and pledges and commitments will be sought. We did issue this. I see the online survey link was right at the end of the mail, so chances are the majority of you didn't see it. But yeah, we do have an online survey at that URL. I'm not sure if it's not the easiest to remember. But info@parksec, if you would like a link to the survey, then just email Julie, she'll send it to you. It is on our Facebook page, Parksec. Is it on our webpage, Julie?
Yeah, on this page.
It's on our news page as well. So, and it should be on the Parkhurst Village page and Facebook page. So, yeah, it is available. Or if you want to come down and take a note of it afterwards, come and speak to me. So, I mean, it's important. Projects like this can only work with the commitment from the community. We're wholly reliant. We're not just switching you from Cortex and saying, you're taking the debit orders, you know, you must follow. We're saying, please indicate your support. Come and support us. Come and show your willingness to make a contribution that is going to benefit us all. So reducing costs, improve security, and allowing us to get more features. Everyone needs to contribute. So please talk to your friends, neighbours in the community to support the initiative. So just in terms, last slide, I think it is before we reach the much awaited question session. There'll be a SafeParks CSS marketing drive in terms of trying to procure sign-ups and support for the proposal. What we've done is that we have looked at the 1st of May as being the implementation date of the scheme if we have support. So we've given ourselves 2 months to generate that support. CSS have indicated, again, very much in the spirit, again, there's a commercial motive behind it, but they have said that they will commence 1 April in order to get things up and running. So they will start, if we have a sufficient indication of support, they will start implementing on the 1st of April. I imagine not the cameras at that stage, but certainly patrolling the suburbs. So the current Park scheme operated by Cortec will continue until the switchover, which, as I said, we've indicated at the 1st of May. Once we've got commitment and sufficient to meet the minimum, we will implement the new scheme. Okay. So that then is, in a nutshell, what we've done and what we're proposing. Thank you.
I just say something to the survey. We just take back a slide so that the URL up there. We'll send it out. It's going to be on our website. It's on Facebook. It's all over the place. So if you can't find it, please just email safety@parkhurst.org.za and I'll happily send it on to you guys, no problem. When you go and do that online thing, unfortunately we didn't pay 2,000 something bucks. We got the cheaper option, and it's supposed to give you a when you've submitted, stating that you have submitted it, a confirmation, in other words, and it doesn't for some reason, and I don't know why. But I can't get it to work, and I've had so many people saying, I've submitted it, but it's not telling me it has. It has gone through. We've captured it. We've got your information. It's all there. Just please make sure you do submit it. You answer all the questions that you need to, and then if you go and scroll back up and you see any red marks saying that you need to fill in something, then you haven't filled it all in. Otherwise, it has gone through. But you can happily just mail me, and I'll go and check on the database that it has gone through. Thanks.
So just before the questions, there has been a lot of information floating out. I know Contact understandably has been relatively defensive in their marketing mail and what have you. A lot of that has come out after the fact, so they claims they've made certain offers or what have you. Those weren't made as part of the initial proposal. And they've also are casting doubt on certain of the technological or technical solutions being offered. So if you do have questions on that, please feel free to speak to Michael after.
Can Michael just say a few words on that?
Some people might not be interested. I think it's just from a strictly technical.
Just stand up so we don't forget.
Yeah, Michael, you can stand up.
But Michael Lieber, by the way, guys, he's consulted to American embassies all over the world and done installations for them. Hell of a highly regarded. He's not someone picked off the street. He's really top of his game, and he certainly can validate that the solutions we're going with both CSS, with CSS is top of the line. Whatever Cortec might come and say now, it holds no water. They are easily as good as each other, and I believe that the CSS option is better for a bunch of reasons, but not slating the other. It's certainly not inferior.
In the past, he hasn't really answered some of the questions. We will do that in the future. If we email you, will you answer emails?
Yeah. I think it's best if the questions are emailed to us, Julie, and then we can distribute to them to the person who most.
Sorry, let me just clarify that. My situation's in November. I'm very concerned about both sides. Because I'm worried that we have a security company. And after a while, people do this track, and then they start watching you going in and out. They don't know exactly what to do. That actually will reduce your security in the long term. Last question in November, sent to my website, what are the checks and balances? I was told I didn't answer them yet. Didn't ask me. I've sent questions again, and I still haven't received any answers. So I should have some concern that these things need to be sorted out. And my main issue is, like, what authority is being done? It's the whole suburb being surveyed. What is the survey being done on the whole suburb? Because it's affecting all of us, not just those who want to see.
Well, you see, the point is, and from the levels of current participation, there will be different approaches and people that have different views. So we have set up a scheme, certainly as Parks we set up a scheme. Provoa, at the Residents Association, we have meetings, we swap information, and anyone's free to attend. So have you gone into each house and asked them their views? No. I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the fact that your queries have not been responded. I think you did send an email which I got either today or yesterday. But and certainly it's not acceptable that you're not responding.
Just to answer sort of the validity of the committee, we have an AGM every year. Some of you might have been there before. Every year we give a feedback. We've had an AGM for 6-7 years. We have an election process on our committee. No one, we've all been re-elected every year, and that's who we are. So it's not like we're just out there not having accountability to the community. We've been having regular meetings every year and saying, we want to stand as anybody else that wants to stand, and no one else to stand.
The problem with voluntary thing is it's not an ongoing structured system where my oversight is guaranteed. It then becomes a little bit unclear whether these people are watching us or who they watching.
Well, that's another issue. So I'm just responding to the validity of the community. We were elected by those who contributed, and we have an AGM. So it's a democratic process.
So I think in terms of oversight, that's one of the reasons we have asked Michael. I know you've jumped in, and that's fair enough. There's an answer to email. But that's one of the reasons we want you there on a monthly basis. We pay you to exercise that oversight, because it is a concern. And
I'm going to that then, exactly. How do we know it's good time? As well as similar things, people then watch and don't want to watch the next time. This is a very, very important thing, and it goes to constitutional rights for them. It's not just putting in one little blue line into it. Putting something in that reflects each and every one of us. Our clergy, our privacy, and everyone should have a right to. It shouldn't be up to the majority or even a small group to impose that.
Again, it's one of those things we cannot accommodate everyone we've tried to. The intention is not to invade this, but constitutional rights are subject to balance. So the right to free speech is not limited. Right to privacy is not limited. Currently, we've got criminals watching us as we come and go. So I think let's move on to other questions. Possibly, I think you've made your point. I'm happy to debate it as well.
When I joined the quarter, they gave what I call a senior citizen. They included Parks fee in my response fee. What is CSS doing? And we also have a 24-hour NYPD in our section of the street. What guarantee do we have that CSS is going to do the same?
Okay, so obviously the NYPD, that's a different arrangement, and that's, I knew with Chelsea, but, okay. So, certain streets had, okay, sorry, before I go, anyone would like to leave and not attend the question part of it, we give all the information. So, you continue to go out, there's a special question and go on. So I can't thank you very much.
Please do, there are printouts of the survey at the doors. Please do fill them out if you can, and we'll enter them manually.
You got a question?
Can we turn the projector on? No.
Okay. Is it all right? Okay. Just to go back to the question. Again, in terms of pricing, a standard approach. Having said that, there is an intention to look at individual cases. Spoke of the demographic earlier, in terms of which possibly the Parkhurst community may over the younger part of the slightly more mature. But the principle is we will look at individual cases concerning that. He might be answer, he might be all the other political factors to provide their services to their.
Because if I get to say I'm a quarter, then I will not be joining CSS.
Well, so don't forget you've got the home security aspect and you've got the public space. What do you?
Coming up by MIT, it's
If you have to say MIT service, there is no oversight in terms of that. So why are we saying go with the SafeParks initiative is because we're going to have a certain level of really we're going to be managing the supply and making sure that they're doing what they do. Okay.
Two questions. You mentioned the SafeParks.
No, we haven't run up SafeParks. No. So it's either the Isle of Parkhurst.
Isle of Park is one of the most successful Facebook pages. It gets lost a bit, yeah.
Selling clothes, we have a lot of people from outside, and there's always concerns that, people living in on security.
So there is a market page. There's not the same rigorous debate that occurs in the Isle of Parkhurst. There certainly is information. You have another question?
So if we get more subscriptions, will the price go down, or will you increase the number of vehicles, etc.?
It's going to be a balance. So don't forget, the initial increase in subscriptions will go into CSS's margin and overhead as they come in with cost. And once we hit that threshold, we'll look to either reducing the subscriptions or to getting the patrol dogs.
If I can also just add to it, because I think it's an important point you're starting to raise there, and that is streets. We've got some very well organized streets. I live in one of them. We've managed to get about 40-something% of Morris. No, most. But it's about 40-something% of our households we've got committed so far, and we managed to get a camera. It was our first camera initiative, 8th Street in Parkhurst. And I think streets need to be awarded for the participation that you can gather in your street. So in other words, you can motivate your street and your neighbors and everyone else in that street to support this initiative and support the public space security and so on. And you get your numbers up as a percentage. When you reach something like 40%, then we say, right, now we're going to hit your street, your specific street, with a certain amount of density of cameras. You hit 50% or 60%, whatever numbers we choose, and we're working on them now. Then we start allocating more cameras. So, if you guys are saying we're at 80%, you are saturated. You're not going to have anything going on your street because you have taken initiative and you got your residents activated. You think we're bad and we're not doing great compared to neighbouring suburbs like Craighall Park. They're at 63% take up with CSS. That's what they've managed to accomplish in the same time the Cortex being here. Since 2009, they've got to 63%. We're at about 22%. And 27 odd in so, I mean, if we can push those numbers, we're going to get a lot more resources.
I've got a question, but I just want to quickly comment on what you said. So while on the face of it, it sounds great because of the reward system, you just need to be careful because I would assume that an expert should know where cameras should be placed in the state. Doesn't need to take into account churn.
So we've got to, yeah.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
So I was saying that, just to comment on what you said, I said, while it's great to have a reward system of that sort in place, we need to rather defer on the security experts knowing where the cameras should actually be placed, and also take into consideration churn in particular streets.
This is why we do upfront, we're doing number plate recognition, which is the border of our two suburbs. And this is why, again, why it makes sense to come together as suburbs, because there's about 2 or 3 more cameras required to cover both suburbs versus just Parkhurst. So the cost to share that it makes a lot of sense. And it costs to maintain them and run them on an ongoing basis. So we get the neighborhood is surrounded, sealed on a number plate recognition. So what that means is any vehicles coming through that are alerted on any of the databases, the national databases are flagged and they trigger a response and we know they're coming into the area. Likewise, if we see suspicious vehicles, we're sitting in the police meetings every Tuesday morning, at least Julie is now. And, well, our area manager will be doing it now on our behalf because it's traumatizes her. And all of those number plates that come up in those meetings, we can manually load up onto our database so that they're flagged, because often they haven't got to the national databases yet. If we see suspicious vehicles on our cameras, we can also manually load them. So that is our ring. And then, as you say, the 165 cameras that CSS is going to install up front, those are going to be placed in strategic areas, as you say. Professionals are going to decide where those best areas are. The density and the rollout from that point on is going to be based on subscriber and uptake. Does that answer your question?
Where will we get the information about the impact study? How is it being done? How have you looked at where the cameras must go, and so on? I think you guys need to do a great job. We all want a safer environment, that's great. But my concern is how it's done. I think you guys should be more transparent. What should make it involved? What are the processes? What are the processes? How can you just put up cameras everywhere?
Yeah. Okay. So,
I mean, also if you actually Google it, I mean, two websites today were down. I think the association, some religious association websites were down. There's no real information.
So, very sensitive to your concerns. I think this is not the right forum to debate that. Very happy for you to contact us. We'll sit down with Michael and go through those questions. Okay. So you just have to finish.
My actual comment and question was around the KPIs. If you could please share those with us. So what are the KPIs? And I think Julie does a great job with the emails. I think they're great. Perhaps monthly or quarterly, she can actually report back on the KPIs so that we know what we don't do. It would also be useful to start sharing information around uptake rates and when they're dropping. So I moved into the neighborhood 2 years ago. I didn't even really know what was happening. So it would be useful to keep a track on that.
And I think that's very important. So what I'm really doing is that we will have uptake figures to say where we are and how close we are to target. Because ultimately it's a financial target. So, last week I just took the 375 and everyone got drugged in the meeting that how much was the cost. So I've given you indicative figures and indicative subscriber numbers, but if we get more people from Park North, less from Parkhurst, more switched on. So it's not an easy answer. But those definitely we will give you feedback in terms of subscriber uptake or supporters, contributors. And also in terms of SLA, if there's stuff that makes you grumpy that your service provider is not doing, put it in the email signature. Yeah. This is the time to do it, to put it in as a KPI.
That is what we're doing right now, is going through that SLA.
And we will publish that list of KPI. We'll
and
publish the content.
it's a penalty SLA. So if they don't do this, or there's a non-performance of this, we keep that money. That's why we hold the purse strings. And that's what we haven't been able to do till now. As well as, just going back to your, what we're also going to have, which we're going to be introducing, is an app on your phone, so that you can actively see reports. It can be a panic button as well. So you can press that button and a panic, and it's linked to your GPS, so they know where you're at and what's going on. There'll be crimes. You can input crimes right there in very drop-down menus, or very easy, and it automatically picks up your location, or you can input a specific location. There's a whole bunch of things that we're doing that are going to make it a lot easier for you to interface. Sorry? Of course, the meet and greet. Yeah.
Thank you for the explanation. I just want to are in agreement with this initiative? And to what extent are they supporting this initiative? And why haven't you guys closed their tariffs into the streets in light of the traffic and support to the market?
Yeah. So working backwards, we haven't disclosed tariff because traditionally we had very little support from the businesses, either in Parkhurst or in part-time work. In terms of where we go, we believe that possibly there should be some community activism, and those people should be encouraged commercially to contribute to the scheme, because they introduced that risk factor. We've unfortunately been engaging with part-time contact on an ongoing basis here, and I don't know whether you've had any discussions with them, but they have been finding issues with the part-time contact. We've asked them what are they doing to address the remote parking people have been no, not apprehended, but accosted at the ATMs, and their issues there, their car guard issues, and all that sort of thing. So we're not getting a lot of support from the businesses, but I do think it needs to be a specific trust, and as a community we need to pressurize them to contribute. I'm just going to go next door. Oh, sorry, is that your question answered? Good enough.
Sorry, can you come back to me?
Just find out, in terms of your engagement with the CPF and the police, because in terms of that, I don't see any piece there. I know that the chairman of the CPF told me to know anything about these meetings now. So just in terms of engagement, they are the policing company for the entire area, because they have the detection of all crimes that we're expected by. So what is the engagement? What is the role that they're going to play in this whole arrangement?
Okay, so in terms of police involvement, ParkSec has been closely in close contact with police. Captain McKinsey came and presented at our AGM last year. And we actually launched the car guard scheme with SAPS and Portac. It was implemented at no charge in Parkhurst. So we are collaborating with them very extensively. Julie, our administrator, does attend CPF meetings weekly. Monthly CPF. So they really work. Yeah. Did you all get it?
I've attended monthly meetings, CPF meetings, well actually called CSF meetings, both all security providers and these. And then also go weekly where we discuss crimes that happened in the last week. There's look on information and we send that out to review it. All the different providers in the area.
The reality is that SAPS is massive. Colonel Woodley, I used to go to those meetings all the time as well. The reality is that SAPS is so understaffed and under-resourced, they just can't do what we need them to do. Absolutely, and we do. I've got them on speed dial. I mean, I call them all the time. But the problem is that they actually don't have the vehicles to get here when we need them. They can't do the police in the public space security. They've got one vehicle for like you'll be shocked if I had to go through the stats with you. But that's not what we had to do, is slate SAPS and moan about them. We had to find a solution. How do we find a solution? And that's through what we're doing here tonight.
Sorry.
Yeah, just James is in Sanctuary Design, and obviously we've had quite a bit of experience.
Can you just,
Sorry, James is in Sanctuary Design, 8th Street, and we're the only street I think in Parks that's got cameras on every corner with these number plate identifying cameras, etc. And it's been a hell of a thing to get buy-in from all people in the street. And what I want to find out is, what happens if you don't get the uptake that you're looking for beyond the initial numbers? People beyond the 750 mark, and you just get that amount, does that cover all the cameras? Probably not. That's only going to be, so then you basically changed your provider, you haven't got any other benefit from it, and you're sitting where you were before with 2 providers, not one.
well, don't forget we've got 3.5 vehicles as opposed to.
Sure, there are don't debate the process you've got through. I'm just saying what.
So let's just work on those numbers. If we go with exactly the same numbers that we've got now, we'll cover everything and some. we'll have, I think it's 200 and something cameras available to.
Not on the 375,000, should.
No, but on the present membership, we get 500 and something thousand. So that kind of maybe answers your question.
But it is a risk, absolutely. So the thing is that the current parking scheme is continuing. If this has to crash and burn, then a decision will have to be taken. But we honestly believe that it warrants support, and it is a substantially better solution. Right, we're going to move backwards down. Sorry? I think everyone's been waiting, so let's take this one. We'll take the one next.
They're starting 1st of April.
The number has been graduating into market students. The most important thing is to call them to see something, so we need to test the reaction. So it's a market where you all can see it, and also gives everyone a chance to see the cards, phone them in and say, right.
It doesn't sound like madness to me. We'll put it to CSS. Again, they've got a marketing plan. They have already agreed to accelerate the month. So
I think this is a marketing plan.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to talk to see something like that.
Right.
Sorry, 2 questions. Don't you think you're going to eliminate the risk of this going forward by winning a vote on these providing it one? Within the majority, I think your risk
look, we did contemplate that, and it's sort of the line we went down on Thursday night. And this is our whole thrust in terms of engaging with our communities, that we have 2 meetings. In essence, they're usually the same. We realize Thursday night, hang on, this direction is going to conclusion. The point is that we have gone through at least a 6-month process, analyzing spreadsheets, interrogating the service provider, evaluating different options. So to throw this out on a 15-minute straw poll based on 2 presentations, I don't believe, personally I don't believe the thing. So that's why we've adopted the approach to say, we've stood up here, we've spent the last 6 months evaluating, this is what we've come up with, do you support it?
Yeah, the other thing is, let's take your option as a way forward. We put it to vote. We get 49% in favour of core tech and 51% in favour of CSS. What does that do for us? So we say, okay, we're going with CSS. We're still in the same position. We're still in the same position that we were.
And all
we're not going to get them to change over. You're either going to change over or you're not. We know we got the support. We know the support's there. We're also mandated by the community at certainly Parker's last AGM, with a 96% voting to act in favour of the community. So we're moving in that direction. But you understand what the problem with that solution is that you actually don't make any headway. You just waste time.
We did contemplate it and decided that
everyone was invited.
I was invited, and I said, "Very good, I this solution to Parker in 1987. I did that." Sorry,
yeah, look, I mean, in terms of, there's only so much we can do. So, certainly in terms of Parksec, we put flyers in people's post boxes, we do mail drops, we do letters, we have a database that anyone, contributes or not, can sign up to. So, you can't always look at other people to do stuff either. This applies to security as well. So, if you see stuff, don't say, why isn't someone doing about it? Phone the proactive security supplier and say, someone is doing something suspicious. Our 4 levels are abysmally low. So, you know, we need to lift up our heads, wake up, and contribute. And these meetings are open, these meetings are advertised. If you don't get the stuff, I mean, we don't knock on every door, phone every person and say, listen, we're having a meeting.
We do everything we can to make the public aware of these meetings, but we can't get, I don't know what else to do. You've got proposals, please tell us.
I'm in 10th Avenue Park North, and we've got 70% of our residents in that section of our street to sign up for street guards. We've got full-time street guards, 24 hours. And what we find is that they are good guys, they do their job, nothing happens in that street. They meet you at your gate when you come in. So we have all that interaction, and we've got people working from their homes in that street. We've cars are parked, so now the people can park outside, and their cars are safe. Whereas other areas, it seems like it's not used. So I don't know how I'm going to sell, because it was quite a job getting those people to sign up, as you can imagine. Now, to tell them now we're going to replace the guards with cameras. Camera doesn't, is not going to do anything about it parking, so that people coming to those businesses will not park outside because there's no one to park. Now they get shown where to park, all of those sort of things. So what do we do with those?
Okay, great.
Cameras don't work for us.
Great question. And it's something that conceptually took me a bit of time to understand about the camera solution. Those 165 cameras do not or are not going to provide blanket coverage of the suburb. They're 48 poles, there are far more intersections in the two suburbs. They are there to monitor key nodes in the suburb. To the extent that specific streets want to put in a camera solution, want to put in a garden solution, they are very welcome to raise the support for that and do that in the street. So the current, what we're proposing as the base solution, I don't think would come close to addressing your issue. Your garden would need to be on top of it.
What is your garden cost?
That would need to.
It's very competitive.
Because obviously, if like Park and our weird partners, it would be nice to know that if we came with your solution, what is garden rate?
It's a good point. I don't know how people can, but I will find out.
I think the lack of understanding, and I know it's because this is what I was like until now. What you guys are proposing is not taking the place of your guard in 19 and your guard in 10.
Now we've got to pay extra to get.
But you are paying for a unit, and you don't have to.
No, absolutely.
You are being asked to contribute to a community-wide scheme that is going to keep the spray safe. Can I just finish? Oh, sorry, we've got
So we don't have to subsidize this.
but you're not going to.
We're not going to be, as I explained, those differential security measures in the different suburbs, we are asking carrying the costs independently.
It's going to mean that the parks are going to be safer, that the shopping streets are going to be safer, that the 3 Street Park is going to be safer. So if you buy into this thing, the CSS bunch, then you're not paying for household security. You're paying for
But you're going out there to pay extra above whatever you make out.
And that's our point, is that it's voluntary.
So that really,
Yes, exactly. We can make
then I think what can we afford is the current people not going to contribute to SafeParks because why would they?
Can I suggest that in your specific situation, I still think you've got to look outside of your little node, because you walk outside of that node, you drive outside of that node, and everything else.
So you need to do that.
But considering your specific question, I would say maybe look at transferring that guard that you find so useful and is doing a good job for you, transfer it to CSS. Because at least we got oversight and we can help monitor that they are going to be doing what they should be doing, etc. Yeah, that would be my suggestion.
I'm quite excited about this extra security.
Okay,
Because I think anyone said they get consent, I think things are getting out of control. So you have key photos and live logo and things like that. Has the issue actually of the car parks been addressed to CSS and will they monitor it? Because quite frankly, they freak me out when they follow me home at night. And they make comments at me and all sorts of things. And they're very pressing and it's very scary. And I would like to just address in this because that's a community.
absolutely. So, the car issue is hugely controversial, and the resource bit. So I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but Parks did implement a scheme with car guards and vehicles. The implements were taken, it was a joint initiative with that, and we put guys with birds, put them there to monitor. Firstly, we cannot, I mean, we have the constitutional issues raised. There's freedom of movement, so we cannot stop people walking in the street. So from that perspective, you cannot arrest a person if they're standing in the street offering to guard. Obviously, if they're threatening, if they're drunk, if they are breaking the law, they can be arrested and something done wrong. But in principle, it's not as though we can say, right, all street cars must leave the suburb.
I'm walking around in the streets and I'm getting followed by car.
So if you feel infected, then again with James' happening, you go home and you say, listen, there's people arrested. So it's something we must do. And unfortunately, it's one of those things, we've got huge pushback from the businesses, from the restaurants, saying, oh, we've had our car guard, it's such a sweet
Looks after our patrons and everything else.
Being a behavior. According to SAPS, the vehicle safety figures dropped significantly when we had that scheme. But a decision was taken due to the pushback from the community that for the interim we would show that scheme. I do think that we need to do something going forward. It is a serious problem and it needs to be addressed.
Two questions. One, those 3 cars, what will they actually do? What are they? Do they react or do they control?
Well, it's a bit of a mixture, but it's the same. It's the same as what full-tax vehicles currently use. Okay, so the idea is that, and again, I'm not casting aspersions on people like ABT. That is what they're supposed to do. They will stand down until they get an alarm activation, and then they will respond to that alarm. What created, and again, this is why it's so expensive, because the vehicles have to continue to control, going around, seeing suspicious activity, reacting to reports, hopefully from the community, to say there are 3 people walking around here, that 4 dodgy guys in the car, parked on...
Or the cameras picked up someone that looks dodgy.
So will those vehicles be outside of the...
Yes, no, they're dedicated they are dedicated to outside, 3.5 years.
And my second question was just around the cameras. Who owns the cameras at the end of the day? So if we change service provider, what owns the cameras?
The street scheme will be determined by the arrangement that a particular street comes to the service provider. In terms of the greater scheme, CSS will pay. Okay.
If I can just answer that from a streets initiative, because there are a few of them around, and I'm one of them. With all of those street initiatives, when we went into our first meeting, there was people wanted to put guards on the street. I talked to them around cameras, and we put cameras in, and they started to be highly effective. The agreement that we put in place with Cortec, who were the only service provider that could offer that solution in the suburb at that time. So we said, fine, we'll work with Cortec. However, should we are going to go through with this tender or RFP process and bidding process and a proposal process, and if they are not the winner, we need to be able to move that solution and the infrastructure cost to the new service provider. So what we did was we got Michael, who came and vetted the technology that was implemented, and that it would be compliant with any other service provider. It wasn't, especially, it was transferable, and that there was a buyout clause. In our particular street, we funded, as residents, 70% of the capital costs. 30% of that was funded by Cortec, and we paid that off on a monthly basis. In other words, they took a loan on our behalf. And that was, for instance, 30% of it. There's a buyout clause in our agreement, so anybody that comes in, any company that comes in, will buy out that 30% if the street decides there's a consensus that they decide to.
So should there be something like
it? Will be. There will be. There always
will be involved in that service provider because of the.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is the school. I would like to report that cars are no damage school and are part of the problem in Congress. I've seen two of them fly into the back window of cars, stealing out of those cars. That's my little experience on the corner of 3rd Avenue and 14th Street. My next question is this. If you're going to have a company with 3 vehicles in Park North and Parkhurst, whereas we have, I think at this time, over 10. We put that the police into account, you must have close to 20 vehicles.
Okay, so don't discount the police because they will be there anyway.
I'm not worried about this guy, I must include them.
We
And our vehicles are going to Parkhurst. And it's highly important that we continue to have those vehicles because they are a presence. I would like the last thing, and this is the committee members in this committee of yours between Parktown North and Parkhurst and your current security provider.
Yeah, I'm with Cortec. Justin with Cortec.
Now, why do you not choose Cortec and the CSS? Because Cortec has
Because they're not
what basis did you choose them?
but that's what the whole legislation is about. Positively and exposed as we all are.
On words from CSS, I can choose it from action by Cortec. That's the difference.
That's the choice. And the point is that Cortec is not privileged. And there are serious deficiencies in some of what they do. That is the decision we take. And I spent the last hour and a half explaining why. It's not an easy decision. Sure, we could have taken an easy decision. Was it the right decision? No. The right decision is the decision we've taken. And it's not as though we did a thumbs up. We've gone through a process. It's very easy for you to sit there and say, we're a bunch of idiots. And
No, I never said that. I never said that.
We've gone through the process.
You resign from Cortec.
Because they offer a better all-round
Words only, you've got no experience with them.
Well, we know that it's not as though we haven't spoken to neighborhoods. They've been fantastic in Greyford Park, you speak to the residents.
That's true. We've had sterling reports from all the suburbs of the operating. We've got written letters stating and documenting how fantastic they've been. We've had presentations. Sure, absolutely. One of those people, I've never but I've also, you haven't been with them on cameras, you haven't been dealing with them on anything else. I have. I couldn't agree more. And since this is case good.
Sorry.
Yes. Has that been taken into account in the park,
Right, so now Southern Avenue is potentially problematic. It's one of those streets because half is in Playboy Park, and the other half is in Park North. The same story is with Eastwood, which I think is an extension of Southern, which goes up to the other side. Is part of Downtown West. Traditionally, Southern has only been, it's recorded between the two suburbs, obviously now with CSS. It'll be one service provider, and I think perhaps the two suburbs need to decide under whose aegis that is going to fall, whether it's a greater health or a part-time. But we definitely will address that.
Your entrance into Park.
So we are aware of it and it will be addressed. And obviously in concentration with this. We're not going to call this so we have people trying to say that this
Because we will be at Southern Avenue and we will take it into the program on initiative of etc. And the vehicles. But the vehicles never come down Southern.
So hopefully that will be. But again, that we can put in a KPI and if you phone us and say, listen, we never see this vehicle, you say, CSS, bring us to it, because don't forget if you change the cycle of the Exactly.
Are you not afraid of making CSS too big and too widespread? That the service is thinner, not the dedicated people, it's top management that have the control. And you know, with any company, I don't want to mention later, but bigger than one, the worst of service, rather stuck with a smaller, more focused company. And as you said, it can be like all the Apple, that all those things. Are you not afraid of filling them out?
I don't, because we fall within their core
focus zone. From a tactical perspective, it makes sense that we go with CSS. It's actually an advantage. I mean, they're not an ADT or a huge organization to that extent. We're dealing with the owners. We're not dealing with some managers, we're dealing with the owners. And not necessarily. So let me just-
Every other meeting, call you to talk to us. Why is it CSS?
So can I just finish the question? I'll come back to that. So yeah, I mean, all these things are thought with. Nothing is without this. We believe that they are able to deliver. We are going to get them to commit to a contract in terms of which they're obliged to deliver. And if they don't deliver, they're going to fill in their pocket.
Is the contract on a period,
Yeah. So we're looking again. We initially we looked at a 3-year contract, but I think it makes sense both in terms of our own process to go through this every 3 years. We will not get people to sign up twice. And the second thing, in terms of amortizing cost of infrastructure and repeating investment, it makes sense to do a 5-year agreement, but subject to meeting the service levels. So if those service levels drop, then definitely you will have a right to walk away. Well, we're going to do a monthly review in terms of service level performance and an annual review in terms of operational performance. We intend managing it very tight.
Sorry, Chris Dunn from Marcos. I think in respect it's fair to say that we were concerned about how to keep the security provider up to scratch. It's very difficult, but remember, you've got maybe 1,000, 2,000 customers together. They run the risk of losing it if they do not keep up from scratch. We've shown them, we will have shown everyone, and them in particular, that we are prepared to change if they don't give us the benefit and continue to give us improved service. They want to keep making money out of us, I understand that. They will know that if we are not happy with them, they will lose our business and a lot of face as
well. First of all, I want to say that yes, you are not doing a good enough job. The reason you're not doing a good enough job, and I have on office residents, not enough people get involved. So if we want to do a better job, we will have to get involved. We've seen it with the Verity Park. Tim Trudeau, who was on the Residents Association, did the survey. People did not like dog shit in the past. We did a project. Michael was sitting over there paid for the science. And those who want to and have a conscience contribute. So there's always mostly plastic bags in the park. And those who want to pick up our dogs. We walk there, see Maurice and Loggins there. And we see people with their dogs sitting on the park and they don't give a shit. But the park is a lot better. We also did the same thing with Telco. We said we want, and that whole bandit thing was in the cameras by the way. And Ryan sitting right in front, ran it as a project. But we got together as a suburb. And that will tell me now, by the end of last month, should have five outside of our homes, and those who want to can join. And it's all done voluntary, but we have to do it as a suburb. Now we can spend the rest of the evening and the rest of the year arguing which cars, whoever gets it, should have gone to later on this. And trust me, both cars have got their good points. But we have to have a car or a truck. And we can go on with this argument in my A, my B, and this one's got green, and that one's got purple. We have to do it. And the point being is it's like buying the first smartphone. Once you've got it, you can put all the apps on. We have to get the 375,000 rand in the bank, and then we can say, hang on, we don't carrot pigeons sitting on the grass or something. And then you can also go to our friendly restaurants who don't want to support us, who prefer to break the law. As one restaurant once said, by the time you guys catch up with me, it'll take 5 years to council and I can quit it. And yes, we can put, as a community, we can put pressure on those guys. So let's not faff around with it, green or blue or purple or Nissan or Toyota or a Ford. Let's just get on with it, put our hands in our pockets, go to our neighbors, because that's how we got fired out. It was going to our neighbors, banging on doors, dropping slips in, and people who don't, I mean, people are not really getting informed. You all need to come to know someone.
Thanks, Graham. Can I just, sorry, just 2 points. You mentioned the issue about the cars driving around. So those, because those are RBNG companies, those cars, they'll still be ABC vehicles in the summer. They'll still be NYPD, because that's what home security. They'll still be the police. So that's not going to change. And again, it's one of those arguments. We go single service provider and we try to get as many service providers to saturate the neighborhood. My belief is, with all our resources in one place that can help the council, that can be monitored and held to standard, and give them as much money to put in and as much resources as possible to ensure we are safe. Rather than a whole lot of people on the bones of the house, potentially council. But that's not. Anyone else? Right, anyone who wants to debate, please very welcome afterwards. Sorry, I'm not on the desk, but just a big thank you to Cool Ideas who provided the cameraman so great. Thanks for coming.